Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily edit the design that you've purchased in using Corjl's online editing and personalization software. So when you receive your email from Corjl and you click on your link, after you've signed in, you're going to see your design open up in the editing window, just like with this one we have here. Now every seller is going to set things up a little bit differently, but for the most part, you'll see your design first. Sometimes you'll see some instructions that will open up first, depending on how that particular seller has set things up. And to switch back and forth, if there are instructions available, you can come over here to the left hand side, and here's our design, and underneath it you can see our instructions. I can click on that, and that's going to open up the instructions for you. So if the instructions are what you see first, just come over here and click on the design, and that will open up the design for you. So the first thing you want to know how to edit when looking at the design is going to be the text. And as you can see here, we've got our text here and our wording here that obviously we're going to want to change to personalize for our own event. So to edit text in a design, you can click on the design directly to select that text. And once it's selected, you can either double click in that box to backspace and change your text, or you can, when you click on the text, you're going to see over here to the right our little text box here. You can go ahead and click in this text box here and change the information that way. So that's how we can quickly edit our text. If you want to change the color of the text, you can do that by clicking on this little colored box right here. You can either select a color here, or if your seller has provided preset colors, you can select some preset colors here to change your font that way. You can also use this little color dropper tool here. Click on that, and you can come pull a color directly from the design to pick a design that way. So that's how you're going to edit the color of the text. If you want to resize that text, if you want it to be a little bit bigger, you can click on these little dots on the side, and you can drag that larger or smaller depending on what you'd like, how you'd like the text to fix. You can click on it and move it around that way with the cursor. And you can also come over here on the right and use this drop down box to select a different font size for the font if you'd like to do that. So you can go ahead and click on the next text box here to select that and start editing it. Another way you can select a text box is to come over here where it says layers, click on this little arrow, and that's going to open up the layers, list of layers that are within this design, and you can kind of see the text there, and you can select through the text by choosing that way. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our next section. We can edit that, and then the third section, a quick way is I've just copied the text that I'm going to want to add to my design, and I can paste it right now like that, and I'm going to go ahead and be able to add that very quickly that way. Now let's say you're saying that this is a little too scrunched together, that you want it a little more spaced out. Come over here on the right hand side and you'll see these tools here. This one is going to change the spacing between the letters, and I can drag it that way to increase the spacing a little bit. And if I want to increase the space in between the lines, I can click on this button right here, the leading lines, and click on that, and I can change the line height and kind of just spread that out that way a little bit to make it not quite so scrunched. So that's another way that you can change and edit the text for your own party. So I want to talk really quick about fixing mistakes while you're editing your invitation. Let's say that you've just gotten done changing this text and you just don't really like what you've done with the spacing, or you don't like where it's sitting. You can undo what you have just done by using the little undo button right here on the right hand side. So I can click on that button, and you can see it'll take me back through the steps that I just did and undo some of the things that I just did to get things back to where they were. So that's a quick way to kind of fix something that you've changed. If you've moved something accidentally, or if something doesn't look right, come over here to the right and click on the undo button, and that's going to undo that change. And you can also redo, once you've changed, if you've undone it, you can always click the redo button and go back to the way it was. So that's how you're going to want to fix mistakes. I do want to point out that over here on the left hand side, we have a revert to original button. Now that button is going to not only undo that mistake, but it's going to undo everything that you've done, all the changes you've made to this design, and take it back to the way it was when you very first opened up the design. So you really don't want to use this button unless you have just gotten fed up and you don't like anything and you're like, oh, you know what, I want to do this totally differently. I'm going to start over from scratch. That's when you're going to want to use the revert to original button. But if you just want to make quick little changes and undo things one step at a time, you're always going to want to use the undo button over here on the right. So now that we've talked about editing text, let's talk about images. Depending on your design, you may or may not be able to edit some of the images that are on the design. Go ahead and click on that image on the design, and if we see these little boundary box that comes around the image, we know that that image is going to be available for editing. You can resize these images by using the gray dots that are in the corners. I can just click and drag that in to make it smaller, or drag it out to make it bigger. So that's how you can resize those images right there. And I can move them around by clicking on them and using the cursor to move that image around. The other thing that you may or may not see, depending on your design, are these buttons over here on the right. So you can see I have an edit background button, an add text box button, and an add new image button. So let's go ahead and click on the add text box button. That's going to allow you to add a new text box to the design. So let's say you need to add a little bit of extra text. Just go ahead and click on the add text box button, and you can resize that by dragging those gray dots or by using this the text box over here. And you can edit the text that's in that box. Just like that. So that's how you can add extra text to your design if that option is available. The other button that you may or may not see is the Add New Image button. So if I click on that button, a window is going to open up, and if your designer has made it available, there may or may not be designs here, images here that you can choose from to add to your design. So let's say this little confetti piece right here, we want to add some more confetti to our design. I can click on that and click on Save, and now we'll see that confetti has been added. I can drag those gray corners out to resize it and make it bigger, and just go ahead and add a piece of confetti here. When you click on any image, you can also right click on that image. I can duplicate it. So let's say I want one more piece of confetti. I can duplicate that and move it over on the other side. And I don't like the way that that's situated, so I can right click again and I can flip it. And now I've got these two pieces of confetti that are opposite. So those are just some of the options that you can have for adding images to your design. So this particular design, one thing you may notice for your design is that it has more than one page. And you can tell by coming up here to the top and seeing where it says page, and it says 1 of 2. So that's telling me that yes, this design has another page that I can edit. So I'm going to click on this arrow and go to the second page. And here I have the back page for my design. So you can see that it already has some text here that we can edit and move and change around. And we can also, on the back page of our design, if we use our Add New Image button, let's say we want to add a photo to the back of our design, come over here where it says Upload a Custom Image. And you can either drag or drop a photo or image of your choice in this area, or we can click, and that's going to allow us to browse on our computer to where we might have our images stored. And I'm going to pick this photo here of our birthday girl, select it, click Open, and once it's there, click Save. And now you can see that I've got my birthday girl here. I've added this photo to the back of the invitation. And I can add photos to the design that way if that option is available to you depending on your seller. I can also click on the Edit Background button for particular designs, and that's going to allow me to change the background color of the design if that option is available, and also choose a different background image for that design if that option is available for the design. and select that and click save if I wanted to do that. So once we're done editing, we've edited the front and the back and we're ready to go ahead and save. Come over here to the left and click on the Save Changes button. So you can click on the Save Changes button as many times as you'd like during the editing process. If you'd like to continue to save as you go along, just continue to click on that Save button. And once our item has been saved, you'll notice that the Download button is now it's now filled in and ready to download. So when you're ready to download your image, go ahead, come over here and click on the Download button. And this Download Design window is going to pop up. And depending on the settings that your seller has given you, you are going to be able to pick a download file type from this little drop down box here. And as you can see for this design, I can choose either a PDF or a JPEG image. So we're going to go ahead and click a PDF, and I'm going to click Next. And my options here are print multiples per page if possible, and that's going to allow me to have as many designs on an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet that we've selected here as possible. So I've got 2 here of my front, and if I click where it says page 1 of 2 here, then I'm going to see the back, and I've got 2 of the back. You can also select to show a bleed if that's what works best for your printing preference, and show trim marks if that works as well, so to show where you can cut that design out. Once you've set all the options that you'd like, come up here where it says page number, and I can either select page 1 or page 2, but in this case I want to select both, which is the all option, and that's going to have page 1 and 2 selected. And I click on the Download PDF button, and then you're going to see that image, that file downloading on your computer right there. You can also select a JPEG option by clicking on the Download button, and we can click JPEG, and you're going to have the same options here. You'll see our JPEG. The only difference is it's not going to be tiled on a sheet of paper. It's just going to download the actual JPEG image itself. But I can choose to show a bleed or not, depending on my print preferences. I can show trim marks, and I can select page 1, page 2, or all files individually or zipped. So now that your files are downloaded, edited, and prepared, you're ready to go ahead and take these to print, and go ahead and print at the printer of your choice. So that is how you can quickly and easily edit your design in Corjl.